Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. In this video I'll be showing you 5 amazing new subclass mods in Baldur's Gate 3's Mod Manager. And since it's October and Halloween is coming, we have a couple spookier ones here with the Soul Reaper Warlock subclass, the Eldritch Lore Wizard, the Guardian Fighter, which is a tankier subclass of the fighter, the Mastermind Rogue, which lets you pick a disguise and between different gaming sets, and the Elemental Sword Sorcerer, which is kind of like the Blade Singer version of the Sorcerer. So first up, we'll be covering the Soul Reaper Warlock. Now this mod was made by Ruboki here, and this one has abilities all the way up to level 12 here, and it comes with some new Eldritch invocations. From level 1, you get access to Arms Vidar, Inflict Wounds, and it comes with its own special abilities, the Death Right Swap, which allows you to use a bonus action and a Death Essence charge to swap places with the enemy and mark them by death. We also have the Death Right Push, which lets you push an enemy as a bonus action, and you get the Death Defense, which adds our Charisma modifier to our armor class when we're not wearing armor, which is pretty cool. It also comes with its own unique cantrip here with the Soul Siphon, and we'll later on get a more powerful version of this that does AoE damage. It also modifies Agonizing Blast here to add your Charisma modifier to the Soul Siphon damage as well as the Eldritch Blast damage. And it also comes with its own pact here. You can choose the Pact of Death. So your patron grants you the power over the boundary between life and death, letting you return to life when slain. Now, I can't help but notice that this icon looks somewhat like the pink guy versus Bane meme, so I just had to put this here because I thought that that was pretty funny. There's a bit of a resemblance there. And once we hit level 5, our deepened pact with the Pact of the Death lets us explode with a necrotic explosion whenever we go down, and damages all attackers and his allies. So it's a risky reward style subclass, and I think that's really cool. What's also cool is there's a new invocation at level 5 with the Slowing Blast. Whenever you use the Soul Siphon, you apply Hamstrung to the enemy, which halves their movement speed. Level 6 gives us new abilities here with the Death Right Bless cantrip, and you call upon the death as a patron, and in return she grants you her blessing. And there's also the Death Right Relieve here, which allows you to heal yourself for 2d4 plus your Charisma modifier with a Death Essence charge. Another fun thing, you get Spirit Guardians, Hunger of Hadar, Counterspell, and Command in the spell list, which is just a great selection, and also Haste. You also get access to the Dethrone spell, which normally you wouldn't get access to because it's a wizard-only spell that you learn from a scroll once in Act 3, so I like to see that because it's a really cool spell utilized there. And you also now, at level 10, get the Death Soul Siphon, which casts 3 Death-infused Soul Energy Beams, which again can apply that Hamstrung, which is great. And then, yeah, you do get access to all the other cantrips and everything that a Warlock would get access to, so it's actually pretty fun, too. I find it to be powerful, but not too overpowered. I like the Soul Siphon here because it gets you, it looks kind of like the Sacred Flame animations here, but necrotic version of them, and it uses an attack roll, which is pretty sweet. And then when you get the Death Soul Siphon, it lets you do an area of effect version of that. So I think this is really cool, fun new spells, and it adds in some new ways to play with the ability to swap targets, applying them with the Mark for Death there. You can also then push targets around. You got your Eldritch Blast too, Booming Blade. You don't have to use the Pact of the Death. I prefer typically using Pact of the Blade, and then Spirit Guardians. You can go around dealing massive damage with that. It gets the Dethrone spell, which is a pretty fun spell to get access to. So yeah, there's a lot of really enjoyable things with this subclass mod. So I just want to highlight this one first, and it's perfect for October, Spooktober. And next up, we have the Eldritch Lore Wizard subclass by the Wailing Bard. This one is really cool. So it's based on a homebrew by the arena guy, Spectre Creations, and it does fit well with the theming of this game with Baldur's Gate 3, obviously a bit of Eldritch going on there. So at the end of the day, can you really call yourself a wizard if you aren't diving into the incomprehensible, mind-shattering realms beyond this plane? I think that sums up this subclass very well. So what's cool about this is you get the special ability here, the Otherworldly Torment. So whenever you attack an enemy and let's say they failed the saving throw or they got hit by the damage from the spell, you can force them to do a wisdom save, and on a failed save they get disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls for 10 turns, and they're going to repeat that saving throw every single turn to remove the effect, and you can use this in equal number to your intelligence modifier for long rest. As a bonus action, that's a really good ability, and I think this makes it quite fun. You also get spells based on the wizard spell list and also from the Warlock, so if you wanted something like Armor of Agathis on your wizard, you're able to do that. So every level you get to pick one spell from the wizard list, and it also has Mistress spells, or if you're on PC, there's also an Excess mod version with 5e spells, which is kind of similar. Then there's also, you can click quickly between them to see the differences here. So some standout spells are things like the Enthrall spell Hex, Arms of Hadar. So these are all, and I guess Hellish Rebuke. These are spells that are from the Warlock spell list that you normally would not get access to as a wizard, so it's kind of cool for building. Upon hitting level 6, you uncover 3 forgotten rituals that enhance our abilities. So we have the Ritual of the Void, getting advantage on intelligence saving throws and adding our intelligence modifier to any save to hold concentration on a spell. That's a great one. We also got the Ritual of the Shadows, which makes strength checks and saving throws with your intelligence modifier in place of strength, and the range of any melee spell is increased to 3 meters. That can actually be kind of cool too. And then we also got the Ritual of the Eyes, get advantage on perception, and also a +3 to initiative, which is obviously extremely powerful in a game with a D4 initiative die, so that's the one that I like to have most of the time with a subclass like this. And again, yeah, you get some really great spell selection here with things like Hunger Vidar. Upon hitting level 10, you get the Unbounded Resolve. Your persistent studies of the unfathomable has given you a degree of inoculation. You cannot become frightened, and you have an advantage on any saving throw caused by aberrations, which in this game we do fight quite a few of, so that's perfect. Again, you still get your Forbidden Scholars there, you get all the different choices in cantrips, and the great thing is the Wailing Bard actually gives us up to level 20 support, so if you like to do that, perfect. You don't also have to, because it feels perfectly fine as a level 12 class, and that's one thing I appreciate with the Wailing Bard's class mods, is they feel very balanced to what Larian would want in Baldur's Gate 3, so they make for an enjoyable playthrough. You're not just one-shotting everything. But upon hitting level 14, you're resistant to psychic damage, and a creature under the effects of your otherworldly torment has a speed reduced to 0 and takes 2d6 of psychic damage at the start of their turns. So that's pretty powerful. It's not brokenly strong though, but even so, you got some great choices. You get that bonus action that you can hit the enemy with and do quite a bit of damage, and giving them that disadvantage on attack rolls is quite powerful, so you kind of play a support role as well as a damage role. It's a really fun subclass, so I highly recommend checking out the Eldritch Lore Wizard subclass by the Wailing Bard. Now for our third class, we have the Guardian by Ruboki here, and this is a fighter subclass. People have been asking for a lot more tanky style subclasses, and this is exactly what this brings. So when we look into this at level 3, you get the subclass feature Solid Rock. Your body becomes resilient as stone, reducing all incoming damage by 1, and the amount of damage reduced scales with your fighter levels at 3, 6, 9, damn you're fine, and 12. We also got the Roaring Challenge, unleashing a thunderous roar that draws the attention of all nearby enemies. Affected enemies are compelled to focus their attacks on you. This is great because there's not a lot of really great ways to redirect attacks in Baldur's Gate 3. Most notably, the best way is to lower your armor class, which means you're going to be taking more hits. That makes the Barbarian pretty strong, but the Fighter kind of lacks the tankiness of some other classes. This forces them to attack you. And then there's also a bonus action version, which is perfect. So you get the option if you wanted to use your bonus action for something else, or if you just want to go full in on that. I prefer the bonus action, obviously. Upon hitting level 7, we actually get the very fun Spin to Win, unleash a wide circular attack that strikes all nearby enemies. 4-meter radius, it's really enjoyable. I like class or abilities like this, especially on a tank with a cleaving attack. Just classic type of like Diablo tank. Now we also get the different roaring challenges here, so we get to choose one of these here. There's the range. Your mighty presence reaches even further, so your roaring challenge now hits in a 9-meter radius instead of 6. There's the extended, so this will allow it to last for 2 turns instead of 1. There's also the roaring challenge push, which now pushes enemies back 4.5 meters. And the Roaring Challenge Expose, which will break enemies' physical armor, but Roaring Challenge now affects enemies in a 4-meter radius instead of 6. I think this is a really fun way to enhance the class because it really changes how you play depending on the passives that you pick here. And finally, a level 10 ability here, the Born to Protect. Years of hardship have forged an unbreakable spirit. When you are struck, you deal 15 fire damage back to your attacker, standing firm in the face of violence. Fire damage you deal ignores all resistances and immunity. Haha, Raphael, we can hit you back with this. So that's really cool. Kind of like a Hellish Rebuke that actually does something good. So for these abilities, you have to have a shield active to be able to use the bonus action version of them. But you do this roar out here, you get their attention towards you, you can break their armor down. This is really fun. The Spin to Win attack, you can see there, that's a massive effect. I also have the Guts Greatsword weapon on, so yeah, the large swords fit well, even though you have to use a shield with this. There are some Scurvy weapon mods you can actually use with a shield, and they're large, so it works perfectly here. Let's give you a couple of quick ones here. So like the Abyssal Rage from their Dark Knight set here is a light longsword that's huge. So if you want to equip a shield and use a class mod like this while wielding a massive sword, it can be really fun. I personally enjoy doing different abilities, or having different abilities like that with massive weapons. I enjoy playing Elden Ring and things like that where you can use big weapons, so it's really fun. And next up, we have the Mastermind, which I think is very interesting. Now, The Rogue has the hardest time translating from tabletop D&D to the video game setting that is Baldur's Gate 3. That's one of the unfortunate parts about it, but I think that Oakley_CH did a fantastic job of adapting this from Xanathar's Guide to everything. There's a full list here. They break down everything that they've done and how they've changed it to adapt it to a video game setting like Baldur's Gate 3. And what's nice is this has full level 20 support, which is just great. So at level 1, level 3, you get to choose between one disguise kit. Now, the reason they chose just one choice is so that it's a little bit different than how it would work if, let's say, you were playing the Assassin, which their level 10 ability gives them disguise self. So this makes it so that you don't get to choose any disguise. You can only pick one. I think this is a great change. Probably the best choices here would be like going with the Gith Yankee, because then you can use this, apply Gith Yankee based items, and then take off the disguise. For the gaming sets, you got the dice set, which gives sleight of hand proficiency, dragon chest, which gives investigation, the playing card set, which gives you performance, and the 3 dragon anti-card set, which gives you proficiency and insight. You also get to take 2 different languages here, which gives you either like proficiency in religion, medicine, perception, animal handling, history, nature, athletics, arcana, acrobatics, survival, intimidation, persuasion, and stealth. Sylvan language is probably one of the best as well. Getting stealth proficiencies on a rogue obviously just makes sense. Now, the rogue is a subclass that really benefits from the level 20 mod because, let's just face it, they don't get a whole lot of good stuff here. But level 9 is when we get our next ability after level 3 with the insightful manipulation. Spend time observing a creature out of combat, evaluating its intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. If that enemy makes a failed saving throw on one of your ability scores tested against your own respective abilities, it receives disadvantage on further saving throws that ability against you and your allies. This effect is permanent, can only affect one creature at once, and you mustn't make any quick movements. Must wait until you finish evaluating your creature before observing another. May observe while stealth or invisible. So this can set up your other teammates, which I think is pretty cool. Now I guess to break that down a little bit more. So it's a 5 turn. You apply it 5 turns pass, then you get that. From D&D, it's 10 turns. That's 1 minute. Nobody got time for that. What's cool though is this does not trigger combat. So you do this outside of combat. It has a very large radius. And given that you may or may not play with level 20 mod, I haven't fussed with the class level part. That's one thing that I wanted to just address here, because this is kind of intended to be played with the level 20 mod, because you do get level 13 and 17 abilities. Upon hitting level 13, we get Misdirection. Your lightning and reflexes and cunning guile allow you to dodge an attack and possibly cause your attacker to hit one of its allies instead, usable once per short rest. So this is tricky because in tabletop this uses cover, which isn't a thing. Line of sight is, but enemies won't attack you if you aren't in the sight in the first place. Instead, as a reaction, when an enemy attacks, you can stop that attack and possibly make another one in place on one of their allies. Same AI behaviors as Crown of Madness. And they also changed Uncanny Dodge into a proper Ask reaction, so you have a choice of whether you're going to use this or the Uncanny Dodge as your reaction. And finally, at level 17, you get the Soul of Deceit. You're immune to any mind-altering or compelling effects, including Charm, Domination, Confusion, Possession, and Madness. If any creature attempts to target you or a nearby ally with such an effect, it may present false thoughts to make them do a deception check against their insight, and you are also immune to resistant to psychic damage, which is nice because in the end game, you're going to experience that a little bit. So yeah, this is something that isn't really fully adaptable to Baldur's Gate 3, so they just made it as such. So yeah, this is really cool because tabletop D&D rules don't always apply very well. And again, I mentioned the rogue gets hit the hardest, unfortunately, with this. And that's why the rogue is one of the classes that's kind of delegated for multi-classing. But as I mentioned, you want to use this with the level 20 mod, because then at least makes your sneak attacks feel worthwhile having no extra attack. So I think it's a fun one and definitely worth trying it out if you think this sounds cool to you. I also want to give a shout out to their Scout Rogue subclass mod by Oakley_CH as well. I think this one's really fun. This is more movement speed based, and it's also from the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So if you like the previous one, this is worth checking out too. May cover in a future video. There's just so many amazing class mods out there. But finally, we got one that I personally really enjoy, and this is why it's the last one on the list. I think this is a great subclass though, and Bladesinger has been pretty popular. This is the Sorcerer answer to the Bladesinger. This is made by Ruboki, and this is a Sorcerer subclass. You get the Elemental Blade here, imbuing your melee weapons with Elemental Might. And it also gives you a fighting style here too. A charisma-based fighter is actually pretty fun. I know there's a couple others. But you can go ahead here, imbuing your weapons right at the start at level 1, which is really cool. Get your weapon glowing like that. It works great on weapon mods. And whenever you apply that, it does an additional 1d6 of cold damage onto your attacks. This is obviously really good because once you get the Snowburst ring in Act 2, yeah, you can make ice surfaces on every single melee attack. So it becomes pretty strong, but you can do the same things with the Blade Singing Wizard. Every 2 levels, you get access to a special spell list, which comes with some obviously really strong spells like Crit Restore Water, Aid, which you can boost up your entire team's health, Armor of Agathis, giving you cold damage back on attackers, Guidance, which is a fun cantrip to get on a Sorcerer. Upon hitting level 6, we get the Sorcerer extra attack, which gives you an extra attack with your Elemental Blade. And you also get the Elemental Armor, channeling your Arcane Essence into a Shimmering Shield of Magic. You gain a bonus to your armor class equal to the number of turns remaining on its effect. If 4 or more turns remain, you also gain resistance to all damage types until the effect diminishes below its threshold. And this is dependent on your sorcery points. You can put an Elemental Armor 6 on there, but that's going to eat up 6 of your sorcery points. I also forgot to mention, but at level 2, you get the Action Surge for the Sorcerer. So obviously that becomes pretty strong, yeah, it's a 6 sorcery point cost. So it's not always your best choice in combat. Level 11 is where things do get a little bit strong because you do get the additional attack, kind of similar to a fighter. Plus, you get all the spell casting. And then we also get the Elemental Sparks. When you reach 5 elemental charges, your weapon attacks begin to emit volatile sparks. On hit, sparks will hit leap to nearby enemies, dealing 2 to 8 light elemental damage. So it's pretty cool. And obviously, powerful spells like Chain Lightning. So you can do 3 attacks, bonus action spellcasting. This does become a little bit overpowered. You also get access to Hero's Feast, which is an amazing spell to have, especially if you got access to any type of staff that gives your team extra spell slots. And you can also technically take this up to level 20. So all the class mods here were balanced, except the Elemental Sorcerer, especially once they hit level 11 with that extra attack and Chain Lightning at the same time. Prior to that, it is decently balanced, but obviously getting the access of a bonus action spell like Chain Lightning after doing 3 attacks with an enhanced weapon does become quite powerful. So yeah, I think this is a fun one though, because I like the Blade Singing Wizard, but I prefer playing as a Sorcerer. Your elemental damage also gets boosted up to a 1d10 at a higher level. So yeah, you can hit pretty hard, and it's great because there's lots of gear that procs off of specific elemental damage types. So this works really well. And yeah, those are the top 5 amazing new subclass mods I found in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your favorite in the comments. Also, let me know what kind of content you would like to see next regarding Baldur's Gate 3 mods. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you all in the next video.